Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We want to take a few minutes to let you know who we are and what's going on around here. We've actually designed everything with you in mind and to be for you. So everything we do points to our mission: create community, seek justice, and explore faith. If this is your first time checking out TLR, we have a gift just for you. Make sure to click that Welcome to TLR link so we can get in touch with you and get you that gift. We do so many things here at Sojourn, so as we get started, I quickly want to tell you about them and what to expect. Are you looking for something to do with your friends? Maybe you want to make new friends? 703 is the event for you. At 703, we find ways to have fun and create community. No matter what we do, it's always tons of fun. For more details, follow us on Instagram. If you or a friend wants to explore faith, ask questions, or think through your beliefs, then you're at the right place. The living room, or TLR for short, is designed just for that. No matter what you believe, we are so glad that you are here and that you're exploring faith with us. Lastly, if you want to have an awesome group of friends, really dive into talking about faith and life, or follow up on the things you've heard at TLR, then you should join a community group. Community groups are the best part of Sojourn. Here you get to hang out, have fun, and tackle the world together with some other amazing people. If you're interested, make sure to let us know on the Welcome to TLR link. Well, that's it for me. We are so glad you're here, and we hope you join us and have an awesome time at TLR. Stay awesome, friends.
Well, psych! Okay, we're back now. Okay, that was awkward. Take it from the top, people. This is what happens when you're doing live, okay? I was muted this whole time. It's like a Zoom call in real life, you know? You're sitting there talking in class and your professor asks you a question and you give a genius answer and then it's like, oh, and then you're embarrassed. That's how I feel right now. But COVID, 2020, 2021, whatever, it's what's happening. Hopefully you guys can hear me now, okay? All right, and give a thumbs up, little high five. You guys hear me? Great, okay. We're rolling. Okay. If you're like, man, this is a train wreck, what did I show up to? This is TLR, okay? All right, and I'm Nate, so I'm glad to have met you or see you again. TLR is a conversation about life and faith, and we really think it should be a conversation, but to be a conversation, you got to hear each other, okay? Which means, I need you to hear me, but I also need to hear from you guys, okay? So hopefully, while you enjoyed me, talking in air and just reading my lips, maybe, hopefully, chat away in this comment box because this is happening live, and so I want to hear from you. I want you to see that your comment chat box is working, okay? So we'd love to hear from you, all right? So now I got that out of the way, fun intro, and I'm all like, whoa, what's happening? Okay, here's the question I want you guys to think about and to discuss because it helps us with where we're going today. But what is one of the nicest things a friend has ever done for you? Okay. What is one of the nicest things a friend has ever done for you? Hopefully, you can think of a bunch of examples come to mind, maybe not so many. Again, with being online, it's hard sometimes for friends to do things for us. But what is the nicest thing a friend has done for you? As you're thinking about that, I'll tell you this, that for me, a bunch of examples came to mind. First, Sarah, who's great friend of the program. No, okay. Sarah is a great friend. She got me a coffee cup for Christmas. That's anything coffee related, always a good thing. But when I was thinking about this question, the very first thing that came to mind is that some of you have heard me talk about this, that in 2017 that 2017 was a really rough year for me. And I had two friends. One of them was literally my neighbor, and then another lived right down the street. And they were just literally, because they were pretty much neighbors, but also figuratively just always there for me. And in particular, one night, I remember I was really struggling, and they knew some of what was going on. And one of my friends knew that I was struggling, and he just called me and he's like, hey, come over, you're eating dinner, just come over, hang out, and me and you, what's going on, right? And let me talk to him and open up and vent, and it was extremely helpful, and it's just one of the things that I remember. But what about for you guys? I'm going to look in the chat and see if you guys are saying any interesting stories. Just say hi to some people. What's up, Amber? I'm glad that you're here. Lewis, what's up? Nick, hello. Sarah's going to share the story about her car and the rats. That's a fun story, okay? Anyway, glad that you guys are here. But what is a great, nice thing that a friend has done for you? All right, love for if you guys share that. Now, why don't I ask that question, where are we going? Well, we're wrapping up a second part, a two-part little mini-series here in this idea of talking about relationships. And we're talking about friends. How can you be a good friend? What is a good friend, right? Because as we talked about last week, we all want to be a good friend, right? We want, to have good friends and have a good life. But what does that mean? And as we kind of settled on last week that, one of the reasons this is an important conversation is because friends determine the direction and the quality of the life you have. Okay? They seriously impact. In fact, there's neuroscience behind this. There's even a guy in the Bible even said, there's a lot of stuff that indicates how much friends can impact our life. So how do you know you're a good friend? How do you know the friends that you have are good friends? Well, what is a good friend, right? These are the questions that we're asking because it's such a big deal. The other side of this is, like I said, we all want good friends and we all want to be good friends. But, the other reason this is important is that for many of you, I know a lot of you that you want to not only end up somewhere good in life, but you also, because you're such kind, awesome, above average people, you want to help other people end up somewhere good in life, right? So how do we make sure we do that? How do we make sure the people around us are doing that? That's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, here's what I love, okay, is that when you look at the stories that happen in the Bible and the people who lived and stuff, sometimes we can just think the Bible is just, this dusty old book and you have to go get it and blow the dust off of it if you even have one. And like, we can seem like the characters seem out of touch with us, but there's so many things in here that actually point to like how we can have good relationships. As a matter of fact, is one of the biggest things that Jesus talked about, and that the people who followed him, like, they just redefined how to have good relationships. And regardless of what you think about Jesus and God and spirituality, it's just worth exploring, because maybe there's something there for us to learn. At least there's something there for us to wrestle with. And that's what we're going to do today. The little example that we're going to look at today actually comes from a letter that this guy Paul wrote when he was in jail. Now, if you've ever heard me talk about Paul, I say the same thing pretty much every time. Paul hated Christians, and then one day he went, skirt, I'm on Team Jesus, okay? And not only am I on Team Jesus, everybody should be on Team Jesus. And so if you or somebody you know ever hated Christians, you didn't hate them like Paul did. Paul's job was to arrest them all, okay? He wanted to get rid of all of them. Then he was like, no, I don't want to get rid of them anymore. I want everybody to become one, okay? Huge turnaround. And you can imagine this completely redefined Paul's relationships, Paul's friendships that he had. And so it's amazing. Now, this letter that we're going to look at was a letter he wrote when he was in jail. And that's significant because he didn't know this at the time he was writing this, but this was going to be one of the last letters he wrote, because after this time in jail, he was going to end up being executed. And so these are like just some precious last moments and Paul maybe knew that was coming, but these are just some precious like last moments of some encouragement that he's sending to friends that he has all over the world, that he planted these churches, and he wants to give them some encouragement. And so with that as the backdrop, we're going to look at this. This is found in Philippians 2. If you're watching live with us, you can actually see on the notes section that you can actually see this. I would put it there. And if you're watching this afterwards, you can Google this or, fact check me anytime. I'd love to encourage you to do that. And so read along if you want to. So again, Paul's there in jail. He gives this introduction about how great God is and stuff. And then he goes with this, and this is where we'll start. He says, therefore, if any of you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion. That right there is a long intro to say what I pretty much say every week. That if you're a Christian, if you follow Jesus, pay attention to what I'm about to say. If you're not, well, you can still pay attention, but this doesn't really apply to you. Okay? This is Paul's way of saying, hey, what I'm about to say is for those of us who we're united with Christ. Notice he says that therefore, if any of you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, okay, then pay attention to what I'm about to say. And so I'd say the same to you, okay? If you claim to, you want to follow Jesus, what's about to come next is really important and is worth paying attention to for us. If you're not a Christian, it's still worth paying attention to, but no, you're off the hook. I mean, you can just kind of sit back as an observer, and that's not just permission from me, that's from the guy that wrote it. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, moving on. He says, so in light of that, here we go. Then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Again, I think this is Paul saying, be united on this. Think, this is how I think, and I want you to think like me, and I want you guys to think like each other on this. Be united on this. All right, Paul, what is it we're going to be united on? What is it we're going to be united on? Let's see. He says, here it is. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. Okay, it's sounding a little sus here, Paul, and a lot of hard work. Continues, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. Okay, I know when we read the Bible, we don't really, it's the Word of God, and we don't want to push back on it, and don't want to wrestle with it. I know that it's taught can't really wrestle with it sometimes, but I want to really pay attention to this. What he's saying here we should do, because when I read this, I'm like, hold up, what? I'm supposed to do what now? Look at this. He said, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Okay, I mean that sounds nice, I guess. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Okay, listen. I'll be honest, you guys are kind of cool. Okay, I like you guys, but value you or Sarah over me? I mean, I'm valuable. I think I'm more valuable, right? Okay, well, it doesn't stop. not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others? I mean, seriously, you think about that in contrast to our culture. Our culture is all me first, okay? Like, me first, my interest, because look, value others above yourself? No, I'm not going to do that, okay? Not looking to your own interest, but to the, if I don't look to my interest, who's going to look after me? Okay, you got to look out for number one. You got to look out for yourself. Why? Why would I do this? And now, if you're not a Christian, you're not a Jesus follower, when you're over here looking back, observing this, and you're like, yeah, see, that's why I'm not a Jesus follower. That's a lot of work. Okay, or you also might be thinking, you know, Nate, that sounds really nice. That sounds like a nice person, but that's not the Christians I know. None of the Christians I know acted that way. And then if you're a Christian, you're sitting over here like, gosh, it's a lot of work. Like man, I got to do this? This is a lot of work. Why would I do that? Why would I live this way? And that's actually a great question. Why would you live this way? Like, seriously. And like, don't skip ahead. Don't look ahead. But like, seriously, sit in this for a minute. Think of how big of a deal what Paul is asking we do here. Value other people above yourself? Nobody does that, Paul. Come on. Nobody does that. We all look out for number one, look out for me, and if I have time in the margins of life, I'll help you out. But look out for other people first? No, why would I do that? Why should we do that? That's a great question. I think Paul, after that little tirade, okay, is what he says. In your relationships with one another, which is what he just described, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Forgot about that guy. Hey, forgot to factor him in. I think it can be so easy sometimes that like we view our relationship with Jesus as something personal, as it's between me and Jesus and like something privately that I do, and it doesn't impact other areas of my life. But here Paul is making this transition that the way we should be treating other people is directly connected to Jesus. And if that's not enough, he just twists this knife and really drives this point home. Check out what he says next. He's talking about Jesus here. He said, okay, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. What mindset is that? Verse 6, who in being very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Okay, you think about that. That's a fancy way of saying Jesus never played the God card. Jesus never whoa, guys, I'm God. Okay, I'm God. Whoa, chill. And you think about it. If there's one person that's ever lived that could value himself above other people, it'd be God. Okay, why could he do that? Because he's literally at the top. Okay, he is. He's not just at the top of the food chain, he made the food chain. Okay? And so Jesus could just naturally, and it makes sense for him to value himself above others. He's more valuable. But he never did that. He never did that. What did he do? Paul explains in verse 7, rather, he made himself nothing, by taking on the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. What Paul is explaining here is that in our relationships, we should have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And then he expands what that mindset is. And it's very similar. If you've been around Sojourn, you hear me say this over and over and over again. Because Jesus, one of the very last things he said in John 13:34, you can also fact check this later. One of the last things he said was that he said, the one thing that I want you guys to do is to love one another. Not just any type of love, and not just whatever type of love you define. I want you to love one another as I have loved you. And how did he love us? Well, Paul explains it here. He made himself nothing. He took on the nature of a servant by being made in human likeness. Okay? The reason, if you're a Christian, now you're not a Christian, we'll talk about that in a second, but if you're a Christian, if you love Jesus, if you want to follow Jesus, what that means is that you love the people around you. Not just your friends, but the people around you, and you serve them. You put them first, not yourself first. Why? Because that's what Jesus did for you. Why do you value others above yourself? Because Jesus valued you above himself. Why do you look to others' interests and not to your own? Because Jesus looked to your interests and not his own. Why do you do nothing out of vain conceit? Like I'm going to do this just for me. Because Jesus didn't do anything for vain conceit. Now, you hear this and you're like, okay, well, Nate, Jesus, that's kind of heavy. I need to pick a heck of a week to tune into TLR. Nate, honestly, the best part of this was when you're muted, okay? It's just better when you weren't talking. This is hard. It's kind of challenging. In fact, Nate, it sounds costly. It's not like if I actually live this way, I'm not going to, but if I actually live this way, isn't that going to cost me something? And Paul finishes with this. Yeah, it will. Here's how he finishes in verse 8. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross. Oftentimes in Christian circles, one of the things that happens is that there's this idea, this belief that once you start following Jesus, everything is going to be great and everything's just going to be perfect. And I always find that interesting because we're following, meaning, our leader who went first was Jesus, right? And how did it end for him? It ended in death, okay? Now, I don't think that, we've come a long way since then and we're very blessed and privileged. And so I'm not necessarily saying that, but that was our leader. And so, to think that everything's just going to be perfect and that it's not going to be costly is just kind of silly based on who we're agreeing to follow. And I think it's a reason that Jesus talks about how it's a challenge. But here's the thing that's important is through this whole time, it sounds like I'm talking you out of this, but here's where I want us to start wrapping up, is that this is actually an amazing invitation that we have to do this. That we are actually invited to live this way. You don't have to. It is a choice. But we get to live this way. And why is this an invitation? Why would we pick this? Because it sounds so costly. Right? Why would we pick this? Well, first, I think something to wrestle with is that Jesus did this for you. And he did this for you because he valued you above himself. He wanted a relationship with you. But in order to do that, he had to humble himself. And he took the first step. We talked about this a lot in our brand new series. And if you weren't around for that or you missed some of that, I'd highly recommend going to our YouTube page or Instagram and watching those. Because we cover that in a lot of detail. But I'll just quickly say that when God looked in history and looked to you, he's like, I want a relationship with you. I am going to take the first step to make sure we can be good. But it's a choice and it's an invitation. Now, in response to that invitation, why would we live like this? Why would we sacrifice for this? Well, think of the opposite. You don't have to do this, and you can instead value yourself above others. That's going to be kind of lonely. You can look to your own interests and never look to other people's. That's eventually going to push people away. You can do everything just for yourself. And when you start to live that way, that's how most of our culture lives. And when you start to peel back the layers of our culture and the layers of society and the layers of people that live like this, you find a lot of emptiness. You find a lot of pain and hurt. And yeah, it's covered up with nice, flashy, filtered Instagram posts that make everything look great. But in reality, it's not. This is a sad way to live. And what we're invited into is that we can live different. We have the freedom to live different. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. But this is what I want you to think about. Imagine if we all lived this way. Because isn't the friend that I described the type of friend you want? Don't you want a friend that is like, you know what? I value you above myself. Don't you want a friend that is like, you know what? Your interests come first. Isn't that the type of friend we all want? Now, not necessarily the type of friend we want to be, but you want to do that for me? Yeah, cool. But think about it. If we all lived this way, what would our communities look like? What would our schools look like? Our classrooms? Okay, what would it look like, somebody you barely know and they're like, hey, I got you. Let me help you out with that. Oh, I see you're struggling with something. I got you. Now, I know it'd be like, Nate, that will never happen. Okay, and there's no way and stuff, so I might as well look out for myself. Maybe. But here's the thing to think about, is that Jesus, once upon a time, introduced this idea, and a small group of people with no money, no wealth, no power, believed it, and it changed the world. I think it could happen again. And I think, honestly, it could happen with us. But it starts by saying, I am going to love the people around me the way that Jesus loved me. I'm going to love the people around me the way God, through Jesus, chose to love me. Do they always deserve it? No. Do you always deserve it? No. But I am going to love the people around me the way that Jesus chose to love me. How did he choose to love me? He humbled himself. He put me first. So I'm going to put other people first. Is that challenging? Is that challenging to accept that and to do that? Yeah. Will you get it right all the time? Nope. Okay. But imagine the impact that could have, not only on your life, but the people around you. I'll say this and we're done. That as we talk about friends have such an impact on your life. They impact the direction you're going, the quality of your life that you're going to have when you get there or as you're going. And that's why it's so important for you to evaluate the type of friends you have around you. And as I was talking through this, some of you might be like, oh man, I have some bad friends. Some of you might be realizing you're the bad friend. But what I hope that you realize in this is that there is an invitation for us to be better. It is something we can grow in, and it starts with us. So let's do that. That's what we want to do here at TLR and at Sojourn, is that we want to be the community where we can practice doing this together, where we can say, all right, this is the goal, and it's a lot of work to get there, but let's do it together. Let's practice it. Let's give each other grace. Let's value each other above ourselves. Because while it may be hard to imagine that impacting the whole state of Rhode Island, or even just Rick, it could start with our community, our group here at TLR. And so, it could happen with the people around you. So let's do that. Let's work on that. Community groups is where we practice and do this and try to live this out. This is why each week I beg you to join a community group, because this is where we actually put this into practice. And I just think it's something that we could all work towards and continue to work towards together. The biggest way we want to remind you to do this is by being for Rick. Okay? I say this every week, but go and do something for somebody else. And when you do that, you're starting the journey to valuing other people above yourself. To be for Rick means you literally anything for our community here at Rick. Maybe the people you know, maybe people you don't know, but do anything for other people. A great example that we've been talking about is the polar plunge. If you haven't seen us talking about that, you can check out our video. It's on Instagram. We'd love for you to join us for that. I will repost it right after this, but we'd love for you to donate to that. It helps kids in Mexico, and is a really exciting time. I think most of you have heard us talking about that and talking about it, so we'd love for you to join us for that. But yeah, just keep going out there and being for Rick. Evaluate your friends. Evaluate the type of friend that you are. And let's keep doing this together. Let's keep doing this together. I'm going to hit the closer and then stick around if you guys have any questions that you want to talk about or any feedback. Love to hear from you guys, and I will do that. But for those of you that are like, this was enough, this was convicting enough, oh gosh, Nate, oh, okay, we'll wrap up and you can wrestle with this. But again, we'd love for you to join a community group where you can discuss this, where you can practice doing this together, because we all want to be these good friends. So let's work on doing that together. But you guys rock. We will see you guys next week, where we continue talking about life is better connected. The next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite thing, dating and being single. Okay, there's a lot of, maybe you can get some exciting stories about my dating life. But yeah, we'd love to see you guys next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, do what I tell you to do every week. You guys stay freaking awesome out there. Stay awesome. All of you. Especially you, Lewis. I see you. Stay awesome.
I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
What's up, people? I will stick around for a minute and just see if you guys have any questions. It can be about this and be about anything you want, but yeah, I'm just sticking around here. So you can ask a question, or I can keep just talking to the air. Be like, what's up? You guys like that whole time? You guys remember that time I started TLR muted? That was fun. That was a blast. It's not embarrassing at all. I'm just sitting here talking and like, why aren't you guys answering me? Freaking asking you guys questions and they're just sitting there not answering. So I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna scroll through your comments, but see, Shannon. So if you guys have a question, you should type them in or just watch me scroll through your comments. I don't get to see you guys talking live, and so it's kind of fun. Oh man, that's embarrassing. Nate's muted. Gosh, that was so bad. Okay, yeah, fixed it. There it is. Nick, what's up? Sarah, your car broke down because rats ate it. Alright, well, looks like you guys are all gone. We'll see you. Have a good life out there. Stay awesome.